special briefing which is shared between the government of Guyana in the person of no other than the head of the Presidential Secretariat and Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Luncheon, and the U.S. Ambassador in Guyana, Hart. Gentlemen, welcome. The purpose of this special briefing is to provide the most recent updates on the USAID LEAD project in Guyana. The following statement is co-authored by both the governments and reads as follows. The governments of Guyana and the United States of America have agreed that the implementation of the activities of the USAID LEAD project would be put on hold temporarily during their re-engagement on the design of that project, which the two sides have agreed to commence immediately. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be taking a few questions on this issue, but before I do, gentlemen, HBS, is there anything you'd like to add on this?
I would just say, Ambassador, I welcome the opportunity for us to move on in structured way with regards to the USAID LEAD project. And I want to believe that there are considerable expectations about mutually beneficial outcome.
Thank you. Yes, certainly, let me just say on behalf of the United States that we welcome the willingness of the government of Guyana to re-engage on discussions on democracy and governance and democracy project. And let me just say briefly that the program was initially proposed and designed to benefit the government people of Guyana, and we certainly think that its objectives, for which the government's participation is vital, can be of lasting benefit to the people. So we look forward to a constructive dialogue, which we will be beginning, as a statement noted, immediately. And we are hopeful at the end of the day we can find a way forward in the tradition of our long and beneficial bilateral relationship. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your questions short and identify yourself and your meeting house before.
Shimon Gardens, either of the officials at the head table, you say, okay, has been set, and what will you say to Mr. Bagley? That will be allowed to re-engage in the duration to facilitate the discussions?
I think as he failed to request that portion to whom the question is directed be identified. Are you asking the ambassador question or are you asking?
Either of you, gentlemen.
Well, if I were to give an answer that accords with the, how should I say, temperament of the occasion, I would want to believe that the resolution would be part and parcel of our progress in dealing with the re-engagement. I think that the answer, of course, is not a matter that either myself, the Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration Authorities, the U.S. Embassy, or the Canadian Embassy, I don't believe any of those parties have actually sat down and examined what would be the next step or next steps. But I'm saying in context of the occasion, the temperament, what we're here discussing, I'm quite certain that that question, that matter, will be answered.
And the time
Time frame
for the completion of the re-engagement process.
We haven't established a time frame. I think it is quite understandable why that could not have been done even before the re-engagement started. But I don't believe one should be looking at those words idly, nor should one be conceding that the activity between the governments of Guyana and the United States of America would be dictated solely by considerations of time. Indeed, as the ambassador said in his statement, the engagement is intended to benefit the people of Guyana, and the decisions that flow from ensuring benefit to the people of Guyana, I can't believe it's one that would be flippantly made and be constrained by time constraints only. I think that we would, on two sides, I expect us to seriously address having, as I said, a mutually beneficial outcome as a result of the engagement. I don't know.
But no, I absolutely agree, and certainly I'm confident we can reach a resolution, and I think my confidence in this is buoyed by the fact that many of the things that we are talking about, that we will be talking about, have previously been part of bilateral discussions between our government, and on which we have been able to agree in the past. So I certainly do believe that, that these issues are not so difficult that we can't find a way forward in the interest of the people here.
Board knows in your source, Dr. Luncheon, could you say exactly what are the government's concerns heading into this re-engagement process now that the agreement has been reached to put the project on hold? What exactly are you looking for that you need to change or need more explanation on in this project?
The question is poorly posited. I don't believe that were I to really respond to what you're asking, the question ought have been framed differently. What essentially we have had to deal with, and I am of the opinion has been resolved, is a process of re-engagement, but not on the jurors. That is essentially what we saw. And I believe, as we said here today, and the statement read by Aziz, representing decisions made by both governments, that indeed we have achieved. This is the government, we have achieved what we saw. To have implementation put on hold whilst we are re-engaged. So, what you may want to know is, in the re-engagement, what specifically the government of Guyana is seeking to achieve, both in terms of a project that, as the ambassador says, contributes to the welfare of Guyana, and as I have said, has or enjoys the bilateral agreement and provides the kind of support that both sides would have to give, a mutually beneficial outcome. If you ask me what that specifically means, I would be at a terrible disadvantage to go through all of the contributions that USAID has made and is making to almost recount what the government of Ghana concerns are in terms of a USAID delivery. It is impossible for me to go into the level of details I think your question seeks.
No, sir, what I was trying to get from you, we've heard other members of the administration say that there are concerns about the project. Just yesterday, I think Mr. Shear was quoted as saying she has evidence with concerns and stuff like that. The president himself this past weekend said there is no need for such a project in Guyana right now. So clearly there must be some concerns. What I'm trying to get is what are those concerns with the project that was being implemented?
let me continue then. I want them to continue to rehash those 2 points. One is an outcome that both parties agree would be mutually beneficial. Both parties agree would be mutually beneficial. I've been concentrating on that outcome, on such an outcome. Both parties agree would be mutually beneficial. It would be the height of absurdity and flying in the face of sanity for any of us to see that this engagement with USAID and the government of Guyana, at least since 1992, has not been proceeding along those lines. There is no reason for us to believe, if we adhere to a mutually beneficial output, that this re-engagement would be successful. There's no reason to believe. But if you ask me about its specifics, what the government wants, what the U.S. administration wants, I again would be rehashing my previous statement. This is not the place. I don't have that type of information.
If I could just add on it regard that, we have repeatedly made clear to the government that we are prepared to modify and adjust once we get to discuss those specifics. And I think that's what we're here to do today. That's the path that was outlined by Dr. Luncheon in our correspondence over the past couple of weeks. And I'm looking forward to being able to get down and deal with these specifics so we can find out what concerns there are and take steps to resolve them and address them.
Mr. Ambassador Alan Harris, Prime News. Sir, external agencies rendering assistance to Guyana would not usually execute those programs without the support or agreement of the Guyana government. What was it in this case that would have prompted U.S. aid to execute this program despite the objections by the Guyana government?
Well, I think there's been, there are kind of 2 parts to that response. One that USAID works in countries throughout the world in many different areas of engagement with governments, with civil society, and obviously the promotion of strong democratic values and processes is one of the core foundations of U.S. foreign policy. We generally believe that when people have a great ability to be part of the engagement with their government, that governments will be stronger, we'll have better partners to work with, and that's why President Obama, Secretary Kerry are so committed to this effort. But the other part, and I know we've seen some comments back and forth on this, is that everything that has been developed fits within a framework that our governments have previously agreed to in 2009 and that has been renewed through 2015. Now, this is not to say that this is an agreement that we've come to, but it's a framework, not an agreement on the lead, but it's a framework for assistance in governance and democracy that we agreed and signed off on in 2009. I think we always felt comfortable that the programs we were developing were part of programmatic activities that have been discussed in our agreement, illustrative activities, whether it's providing opportunities for dialogue and consensus building, or facilitating seminars on public events of global and regional interest, or supporting local and national elections. These are things that we've sat down and we've hammered out the agreements on. So it never seemed to me that we were operating outside of our traditional agreed framework, and that these were things which I think the government would agree today, as it did in 2009, that these are good things for the people of Guyana, and that there are also areas where USAID assistance can continue to play a positive and constructive role.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, HPS. I'm sorry, but that's all the time we have, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.